Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adventures in the Ink. I'm Scott, and joining me as always are Matt and Mike. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Enjoying the night.
We're here filming with our reactions to the news that just got dropped on us earlier today, of the day of recording this episode, and that is, of course, we're talking about the ban cards. So, just a brief I promise I can talk. Just a brief recap. What happened is earlier this afternoon, Ravensburger came out to announce that 2 cards have been officially dropped from the core constructed format of Lorcana, and those cards are Hiram Flaversham, Toymaker, and the Fortisphere. So, Matt, what does it mean when a card is banned?
Mean that you cannot include any copies of them in your deck. So any official tournament, you cannot play them. If you get caught with them in your deck, most likely, I have to double check since fans are new, but I think a lot of the games you just get DQ'd.
Yeah, I imagine there's not really a good way to correct it if somehow your deck list had the banned card in it and you already started playing games.
Also on a non-game related, prices are going to drop for these cards. So if you were holding out and buying them, now's the time to buy. Everyone's going to be uploading these cards.
Yeah.
They've already started to drop. I've been watching them all afternoon.
Oh yeah, it's so great. Magic had a big ban list and a bunch of like really expensive cards got dropped, and it was just so interesting watching everyone whine about it.
Mm-hmm. This is why, especially newer TCGs, are not a safe investment if you're looking to make money.
No, you bet on the collectibles like the promos and the enchanted.
Yeah.
But I don't think either one of these was that expensive.
Yeah, I think people were saying maybe the foil versions of them are going to see the sharpest hits.
100%.
Yeah. The band, as far as I know, I don't think that they would take this into account, but I think it's very important, is you don't want to ban cards that are extremely hard to get and people dished out hundreds of dollars for.
That would happen in Magic, and that made people very upset. Yeah. But honestly, though, like you shouldn't let the secondhand market affect the game.
On your screen, you should be able to see the article from Lorcana. It's talking about the 2 banned cards, and we'll cover the highlights, but we're not going to read through all of this for you. But yeah, Scott, do you want to go over any of the things that stood out to you after you read through this article?
The biggest thing is why these cards. I think that is what's been on most people's minds. And so just a quick sentence from the article. The game design team chose to ban Hiram Flaversham, Toymaker, and Fortisphere to ensure the greatest diversity of successful strategies was available to competitive players.
AKA, too many people were playing these specific decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was some tournament in France, I think, that had a couple hundred players or over 100 players, and the top 16, I don't know, I would say maybe 12 or 13 had Sapphire in it, and they were all a mixture of Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel.
Like, yeah, but I was an event that had like 50% Sapphire decks, so it's so many people were playing the deck. It was not a very diverse meta right now.
Mm-hmm. Matt, were there things about the article that stood out to you from what you've got to look at it so far?
The fact that the ban is immediate, is interesting. Because like even with the rattle with Bucky, I think they gave us like a little bit of time. So the fact that the ban list is effective as of today. Today the 8th, right? Yeah,
April 8th, 2025.
So
I I think they answered why they did it effective immediately in the
Yeah,
Discord later on. It basically boiled down to basically 3.5 weeks until store championships. So it was giving people time to readjust their decks in time for the championship.
yeah, like you could make the argument that having it take place like May 1st still give people time to adjust. But what's happened is when people go to like league nights and stuff, you're gonna have like people doing still playing the deck if it's still legal to win that league night. And so now, though, it gives people chances for the weekly league night to change and play with the new meta and get a feel for the new meta in time for the tournament next month.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it was funny because I messaged you guys. For those loyal listeners, welcome back. It's been probably about a month since we've published anything. I was like, hey guys, let's record something today. This is like at, I don't know, 11 o'clock. And then an hour later, Matt's like, hey, why don't we talk about this? And I was like, oh, first banning of 2 Lorcana cards.
Mhm.
That's pretty impactful. Um, yeah, and I think to me, it was interesting. I think at the beginning of the article, yeah, they're like, this marks the first time the cards have been banned since Disney Lorcana TCG launched in August 2023. So they're like, look, we almost made it 2 years without banning a card.
Hey, we made it a year, and that is better than some games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know of some games that they ban cards before those cards are even released.
Yeah, we made it a year and a half. That's pretty good. Um, and Hiram was one people have been saying for a while needed to get banned. And did what that like little goop with the app that made it think that they were potentially thinking about eradicating him.
Hmm. Yeah, what Matt's referring to is, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. Yeah, the app updated and it said, instead of draw 2 cards for Hiram, it said draw 1. And what was there one other card that was changed to? I don't remember.
No,
But
that's the only one I can
yeah.
remember.
That's the other one I know of.
Yeah, and people were like, it's coming, there's going to be an errata, and then nothing ever came. But here we are.
There was something else that stood out in that article. That banned it only for. Oh no, that banned it not for China or Japan. So
Right.
Hiram and Fortisphere are still going to be playable when they are released in their set. My guess is they probably will ban them when Adelaide T comes out for the area, the region.
Hmm.
So that's interesting. Some games do that where they just ban and it kind of feel bad for those areas.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. It shows that they're paying attention to the power level of each of the cards
Mm.
after they release every set, because they're saying Hiram and Fortisphere were not too strong when they came out, but with the release of the new sets, and there's a kind of a critical mass of cards that makes it, to the point where it starts to become oppressive or unfun or restricts kind of the competitive tournaments from having a diverse set of decks. So I think that's I'm yeah, like you said, Matt, I'm glad that they recognize that, okay, its power level has crept up now, and to show you that we know that it's now and not in the past, we're still allowing Hiram and Fortisphere to be played in regions that don't have all of the cards yet. So one of the questions that always gets brought up when ban happens is the why not just errata? And so again, a ban is saying in these formats you can never play these cards, and an errata is saying, hey, this card now has this new text or this new cost, or you make changes to the card, and it's basically a new card.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more confusing for new players, and also like when you get sales events and stuff, it makes it a little bit more confusing. Um, or new players. So I think that banning is the better way to go because especially with these, like these are not the most current sets, so these sets are starting to get seen a little bit less on the shelf. So new players aren't gonna probably see these as much when they're opening packs.
Scott, would you rather
I
have
also
it?
like that.
Go ahead.
I like that ban cards are technically permanent banned. Like something can happen down the line that these cards can come back.
Yep.
But no issue. It's an easy fix. It's like, hey, this card is no longer banned. You can play it again. Errata cards, they'd have to completely change, basically errata the card again to turn it back into the way it is now.
Yeah.
So banning just makes it easier to be current with the meta, be current with the game, and can always adjust itself down the line to fix itself.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can see Fortisphere becoming unbanned in a few sets.
Yeah, I think so. The reason, not to like jump too far ahead, but the reason specifically that they give for Fortisphere is that it was making certain types of steel decks more item heavy, and like they're like that's not really the core identity for steel. So they would need some, you know, reason to bring it back. Like there's enough other things that are on the same power level as Fortisphere in steel to, be a competitive option for players who are playing the steel color. But I agree, it's more likely to come back than Hiram. Yeah, and one interesting thing, I don't know, I remember them talking about this when the Bucky errata happened. The reason why they did the Bucky errata was because they were just about to release cards in new regions. And so they're like, oh, we can kind of get ahead of this, and we don't want to print a card that's already banned
Yeah.
for these people. So if people are buying products and then saying, well, that card I can't use, oh, that card I can't use. So the other thing that's interesting is because this is mainly a physical TCG and not a online, like a electronic or online version. Errata is
But
much easier for them to do in a digital game, right? They can just change a few lines of code, and boom, everyone sees a change all at once, and your old card is completely new. You can't do that. I mean, imagine if they had a recall. They're like, send us in your old Hirams, we'll send you a new one.
that's kind of what I thought they were gonna do with Bucky. Like, I thought they were gonna send a bunch of hobby toads and allow people to tame them because I've seen games do stuff like that in the past. So I would actually
Yeah.
a little surprised they didn't do that. But I felt like a lot of people would be like, "No, I'm not gonna keep it."
I'm gonna keep it so that way I can play against my noob friend who doesn't know that it's errated.
That and also that like if they do a recall, it then the people who don't participate in the recall, they're then it worth more money because it's a small pool of them.
Oh yeah, true, interesting.
We all know if that happened, we would have all kept at least one copy.
Oh yeah, I would. I mean, the card's a
One
common is
hundred
not worth
percent.
it for me. If the new card was better, like but not in an oppressive way, I would maybe consider doing it. Or if they're like, this is the only way you could get the new card, but I they errated Bucky to the ground. Uh, so yeah, it's like at least the other one makes a better, I don't know, piece of
Oh,
art.
oh, I didn't. That remind me of a meme I saw today. That let me send to you guys.
Mm.
I meant to put on. The person who posted on Facebook name is in the picture, so I don't know if you want to edit that, but it basically like Bucky and Hal, and now Hiram there, and there's Bucky that's like, "Oh, I've been affecting you."
Nice. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll edit that in. That's pretty funny. Uh, if you got like so looking at the set now, um, let's talk about why now and not 2 sets ago or 3 sets ago for Hiram in your guys' unprofessional armchair expert opinion.
He wasn't a problem. Like he was definitely a staple, and he definitely was a really good card. But I was talking today, with my fiance about it, and I'm like, it's a card that everyone autos includes. You if you don't play it, you're probably not going to win that game. if you play it, it's not a guarantee you're gonna win. And that it. The bigger thing when I tell you like a call to be banned, is it a guarantee? It's not a guarantee win. You can play around it. There's a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, Scott, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I was mad because whenever I played against someone that played Hiram, it didn't really bother me. Like I wasn't afraid of Hiram. I wasn't scared to go up against someone playing with Hiram. It was the other cards later in the deck that I knew if they're playing Hiram now, I kind of knew what cards were coming down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But Hiram never scared me. It was like Matt said, there was many solutions to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The
go ahead, Matt.
they're gonna let you go ahead.
Okay. I like to think of these like come up with analogies because it helps me understand, you know, or at least tell the story better, or like kind of uncover that nugget of truth of why ban now. And for me, imagine you are, you have something like thinking of like a tank, right? And you're like, wow, that tank is really strong and it's got a really powerful gun and that gun can shoot things and it's so hard to, like it just seems unfair, right? And you could say, oh, well, we should get rid of the gun. And it's like, well, then they're going to come up with a new gun or something else. And what Hiram is, he's not the gun of any of these decks. He's not the thing that's killing you. He's the engine, And they're saying, hey, those other cards are a lot of fun, like Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam, and the new Scrooge. I don't remember what his subtitle is. The 4 costs that you can exert 4 items to play them for free, 4/4. Those cards are fun, but they're kind of you can't really play them that well if you don't have a good engine. But Hiram just enables all of them and makes them so much more playable. And so, in my opinion, it's like that's the reason why it's happening now. We finally, these, Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel have been waiting for the gun to put on their tanks to like totally obliterate everyone else who's still fighting with, swords and shields. And now it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Anyway, that's into my brain.
Long drawn out analogy.
It's interesting. And then they do bring up like color identity, and I do think that kind of interesting how they feel like both of the oh they are too off what they want for the color identity to be because it's a new game. They are truly developing more of a color identity, and they said for the period make the deal too much of an item deck, so that or the I think Bruce I think they don't specifically want Brute Seal to be an item focused combo. And then they said Hiram is too good of a draw engine for Sapphire, and they don't want Sapphire to have that good of a draw engine.
Hiram is again like a league of, above every other draw engine. I think in any other color, and also within Sapphire. Like all the other Sapphire cards just seem so pitiful compared to him.
Yeah, like he's an auto include. Like if you're building a Sapphire deck, there's no reason to throw him and Popsicle in. And I think Popsicle barely made it out of the ban list. I think they probably debated long and hard for Popsicle.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think they did say that it was on the chopping block too.
Yeah. But probably because of the new belt and the other stuff going on in Sapphire, and Sapphire being very heavy item focused, I think they probably realized if they ban Politics or Auto, they are completely destroying a lot of the top decks right now, and that might have been too much for them to be like, what affects up or what not make it too crazy.
Mm-hmm. They would have buckied Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should turn that into an adjective.
Yeah.
Or not adjective, a verb. Yeah. To bucky something.
Congratulations, you've just been buckied.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Originally when these bans, not just these, but in other card games bans happen, I am always of like, oh, but wait, we could just give us another month or another week, and we could have figured out the meta to counter this or whatever else. Um, but I heard a game designer talking about, very prominent game designer. It might have even been Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic, and he talked about when it comes to making the decision for these bans, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in your ivory tower and you know that there's a way to compete against this. If the players can't figure it out on their own, and it's going to draw them away from the game, and they're going to not like it, or they're going to feel like they're forced to play it, and they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth from playing a deck that they feel like they're forced to play. Um, so kind of like that idea of perception as reality, that it kind of forced their hand that everybody was like, this is obnoxious, and everybody's playing the same deck or some minor version of it.
Yeah, and that not healthy for the game. And it's the thing with like the Bucky King, like people were very vocal and unhappy about the meta, and the game designers told them like, hey, we see you guys complaining. We don't want you guys complaining about the game. We want everyone to be happy and having fun. So we are stepping in to help try to make it more happy and fun.
So, on the other point that people can make is, don't ban Hiram. Just wait till the next cycle and make all the other cards better.
Yeah, but the biggest issue with that is that it takes a month of planning and testing and production and printing and packing sets that like these cards right now are were probably in development in 2023. So
Mm-hmm.
they might not have fully realized what players how they're going to play the game. So it banning at night. So like if they're like, hey, we're going to fix the game down the road with new cards, but like it's going to be like 6 months to a year before we see the results of that. So banning, because like we said earlier, like bans can be temporary. You can unban a card. So they give the developer time to get the fix in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. It's kind of like here's the we've taken this part out for now until we make everything else up to par with it, and then maybe we can reintroduce it.
Yeah.
The other thing that they talked about is the diversity of decks. So, how important do you guys think that is to you? I mean, I guess I'll ask each of you separately, but Scott, I think you, correct me if I'm wrong, like playing whatever you want to play, and you don't care necessarily what's the most competitive. So do you feel like that this ban is, in your perspective, is this like oh, great, now I'm going to be able to play a larger variety of decks, or does it feel more limiting to you?
The only thing that makes me sad about this band is I literally am in the process of building a Ruby Sapphire deck. And I just put Hiram in my deck last night.
Oh, man.
But this, that was caught it. God, you did it.
Yep.
There was a final draw. Like, what's got break? We know it gone too far.
So overall, though, it's not gonna really affect me one way or the other, because I don't really pay attention to meta decks. I play whatever. I'm like, oh, this seems like it would just be fun. So overall, it's not affecting me too much. Besides the fact now I just gotta redo a deck I just built last night. But that's TCGs. You are always constantly building decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
And Fortisphere, I'll be honest, I have never touched that card. I have a copy of it, and I have never put it in a deck. I've never had a desire to put it in a deck, so I don't care.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely makes the Sapphire Steel deck very efficient, because there's a lot of times you have one extra ink and it's like, oh, now it's like I have one less card in my deck, so you can find what you need much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm running my Ruby Steel deck, and I think, yeah, both the cards are in deck that I now have to go and change before Friday League night. But
Mm-hmm.
no, like the bigger thing is like we're gonna affect like what deck you see against you. Because it, like I said, sometimes people feel pressure. They're like, hey, the deck they were playing that wasn't doing so good, so they're gonna move to the deck that they're getting stomped by or people are doing very well at, because they want to actually it is a game, and playing the game is what to be fun, but if you lose every single game or you lose in the majority of your game, people do feel pressure to try to I guess I got to it. This affected me because I'm was going to not play Steel Kong the set championship, and I might just play Steel Kong again now.
Well,
Because
that,
I
that
would
that was my first thought is as I was doing these is how diverse are the cards the deck's going to be at set championships now.
yeah,
I
I think
noticed the last couple of set championships, um, we had a very there was a small group of people that had different decks, but I would say probably 60% of the decks were very similar in the set championships the last couple of rounds. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a more diverse range of decks now.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Um
I would say if they didn't make this change, what you would have seen for, in a competitive area where, space isn't limited and people's time isn't limited, the 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 largest lion's share was probably going to be Ruby Sapphire, shortly followed by Sapphire Steel, or vice versa, and that probably would have made up like 60 to 70% of the decks because it just is too hard to be competitive against those decks. Like I said, it's like you're going into battle and you've got swords and shields and they've got a tank. If you I encourage people to just play it, just to understand how it works and why it's so good. Like, with your friend casually, and then you'll understand. If you haven't done that yet, you'll understand why they made kind of bans, because it feels unfair.
yeah, I think along the way we probably would saw a high number of Ruby Tail players because that is the best counter for those two decks. We're probably still going to see a decent number of Ruby Tail, but I am interested to see how Ruby Sapphire and Blue Tail adapt and see how many people stick with it.
Yeah. I think Ruby Sapphire is dead in the water. I don't think that I'm like thinking about what is their draw solution. Ruby has absolutely nothing besides Dinner Bell.
Well,
I can't think of
I
another
mean,
Ruby card that can really help them to draw, and drawing is such an important part of the game currently.
that's the talisman, but the most of the Ruby draw is combat focused.
Yeah. And the talisman is slow and is combat focused, which Sapphire isn't great at. I mean, the
Um,
whole reason why Ruby Sapphire worked is because it could draw a lot through Hiram, and it could ink really fast through Fishbone or Tipo or other versions, and
so
then get out your strong late game cards.
so that one creepy old guy the one drop who does Hiram Light.
Yep,
He's probably gonna
Monsieur.
see more. Yeah, he's gonna see more. Um, what Hiram Worktop? What's it called that when you play an item you
Maurice's
pay?
Workshop.
Yeah,
Yep.
Moita Worktop. So I think those are gonna get more important. And you also have Odd Roll, then you have the ramp. So I think the deck is gonna be weaker, but I don't know if it's necessarily gonna be dead in the water.
Yeah.
I think
I
I
just
think the minor there's way to adapt.
I'd say slightly. I would
Yeah.
say the like relying on big Sisu slash be prepared or whatever on turn 5 to get you out of trouble, like that's not necessarily an option. You have to get every draw good, or you need to just, I mean, maybe you just have vision. It's just all you do is ink Vision of the Future, ink. The what's the one cost? Look at the top two cards, and you just find the exact card you need. But without Hiram to kind of like grease the engine, it's just yeah, I just have a hard time believing that they're going to get to their end game. Like they're going to have to be a much faster deck, and it might be more of a DKP red blue deck, and that played in the Australian DLC, which I think is faster, but I'm sure it still relied on Hiram for drawing. So I don't know. I'd be interested. I hope that it still survives, but I think that deck's screwed.
Listeners, can you tell which one of us plays that type deck now? Just
I
from listening to our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I haven't played it much of the set, but at previous sets I've played versions of it, and anytime you don't get Hiram, it is so hard to win. And anytime you do get Hiram, it's like, oh, this was easy. You just banish items, play items, draw 1,000 cards, be prepared, Sisu. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is an option, but it probably maybe it'll look more like my Ruby Sapphire Strength Matters decks. And you know throw in Maximus and some other weird the goofy super goof and support or something. I don't know. So I think we're kind of running low on time. We have a shorter episode that we want to get done today, just talking about this. But is there anything else that you guys like related to the band, related to these cards that you're looking forward to? I guess what's your general feeling for this and prospect? Is this good for Lorcana in the short term and long term, or is it bad for one and good for the other?
I think in the long term, getting banned, just having a practice abandon cards when needed and having a ban lit is good because it helped that Joey not need rotates and it helped the game designer fix it. Like it feel bad having a card that you can't play. And I like how the way they specifically word that, like it only banned in core collected format. So like if you're doing a sealed event or if you're doing a starter deck event, with Hiram is in a starter deck. So that allowed so overall I think this is a good thing. Um
Yeah.
Me, short term, I think it's going to be interesting to see if how players adapt to it, see how players do they buckle down and try to force these decks still to work, or is this going to force people to expand out into other decks? It's going to be interesting to see that. Long term, I think it's the correct move because that tells you the designers, Ravensburger, they're looking at the game, they're looking at the players, and they're looking at how these cards seem significant now, but in the long term, it's a small drop in the barrel of how to affect the game, how to make the game better long term, because they're trying to make it back to how it was in the first couple of sets. It's supposed to be a fun game. It's supposed to be a game that you can sit down with family, friends, and just have a blast playing. And we're not just no more. Oh, I gotta go up against one of those decks again. No,
no,
I think long term, I think this was the correct move to make.
now they did say when playing with family and friends outside of a local game store, you can still play these cards. It's your tournament.
Yeah.
So you
So
can still have that like, oh, I'm gonna play against that deck when you're playing against family.
Luckily, my family doesn't play Lorcana, so I don't need to worry about that.
yeah, I would say it probably would behoove you if you want to play kitchen table Lorcana again to not play one of these decks against a starter deck that you give to a family member. Uh, yeah, I think I think this is good both short term and long term. I think, you know, for this first week, it's going to cause a lot of confusion for people who aren't in the loop, who might have this deck, or not this deck. They might be playing this card, and they're going to a league where they are not the most competitive player, but they play with some cards like Hiram or Fortisphere, and they weren't going to win in with their deck because it hasn't been tuned like these decks that are problems, and they're still going to be like, wait, I can't play with the cards that I love. So I would say short term, it's painful for that crowd in particular. I think competitive, anyone who's played competitive card games before knows this is par for the course. It's a good healthy thing for the card game, and I think long term, yeah, Matt, you hit the nail on the head. Having that um, method of banning, getting people ready. Okay, if a card becomes too powerful, it will be addressed. and that way people don't have to act like the world is on fire either. But you could argue that maybe now people are going to have a pitchfork ready anytime a new powerful card comes, and they'll try to get the rest of the mob to follow them to get something banned.
Yeah, I think as long as they don't get banned crazy, if like if one of the kings was like Magic is it like every 6 months hit a ban list. I think as long as that like they don't add new cards all the time, they pay attention. They focus really hard they don't use it at crust where the kind of like Magic really relied on. Well, where Magic is like, yeah, we'll just throw the powerful card in to get people to buy these new packs, and then as soon as we are done printing this set, they call it ban. I'm looking at you, Oko. Like, cause it's just what's coming, and it's not good for the game. So, as long as it's a very much a last resort.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that it's taken them this long. I hope that it's another year before we have to do another ban. But I don't know. I'll have to look back at our old episodes and say how long we were thinking. Because I think in the Bucky episode we talked about how long we thought it was going to be before there was a ban.
Oh, like, honestly, like I'm kind of worried about Rapunzel, because Rapunzel is like the Hiram of Amber, and I think that might be the next one on the chopping block.
I think it doesn't see enough play for it to be of impact. I mean, it is powerful.
It doesn't see enough play because it's a $50 card. And it doesn't
Hey,
see enough play because only
that's an effective ban for some people, right? So
and the fact that like most Amber like there's only like one deck that is really utilizing it. I mean, there's a few decks all, but I think like the best deck that was utilizing it is Till Kong, one of the biggest threats to Till Kong just got crippled right now. So we shall see if we don't see a rise in Till Kong in the next set now.
yeah. So out of Sapphire Steel and Ruby Sapphire, which one do you think held Steel Song back the most?
Depends. I think Brute Steel was a tough matchup, but like Ruby Sapphire, the one that constantly eliminated me from tournaments. I think like Brute Steel, if they got the setup a little bit better than me quicker, they did very well. But Ruby Steel was the one that if I could not win quick enough, they would. If the longer the game went on, Ruby Steel were more likely to kick me out.
Yeah, when we played against each other in Toronto just for testing, that's what I felt like. Yeah, it was like there are certain times. It just if I knew what I was doing and you didn't get your good draw, like it felt inevitable. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what happens. I think I love the chaos after a new set comes out or after a card gets banned or whatever else, and everyone's trying to figure out what's going to be the thing to rise to the top, because it forces people to say, "Oh, I can't just do what everybody else is doing." Like, this next 2 weeks, it'll be very interesting. 3 weeks before set champs, even at set champs, I think it's going to be a fun ride to see. I mean, I'm hoping that it's not like, oh, we thought that Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel were bad. Just wait till you play the new, Green Steel discard that was being held back by these two decks. I'm hoping that's not the case, and it's like even worse than the Bucky meta, but usually it's not that quick before a new King of the Hill takes its place. I'll ask Scott this since he's our local judge, and then we'll get to the card of the week, I think. Scott, if a card is banned and a player shows up with it in League Night, what do you think the appropriate response should be from a judge perspective? And then obviously it changes if it's like your set champs, but I want you to give your thoughts on both.
League night, I think it's just going to boil down to the store. Um, as to whether they're going to say a league night is just it's fun, it's not competitive, it's just for people to come and have fun. If they're going to allow the cards still to be played, I can see it going either way. League night, because with the league night not having any points anymore, any like there's no consistency week after week on winning. It's now just more of a fun get together. I think it's up to the store. I can see it go either way. I'd be okay with it going either way uh, at the local stores. Tournament, store championships, it's going to definitely affect the game. And I'm going to do a more deep dive into the rules, which I have not been able to look at tonight. I tried to do a quick search in the corrective guidelines see what they said, and there's nothing that I could see in the corrective guidelines. So it's I'm going to do a little bit more research as to see where they're going to say ban cards fall into, if it's a minor infraction or a major infraction. I'm going to guess it's going to fall under the major infraction, which means it would be a instant disqualification of that round, and you have to have the card changed out before the start of the next round.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that. I'm going to be curious to see if they update the rules before set championships to see if they have a section specifically for banned cards now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what would be smart if I was a tournament organizer, I would tell the head judge, hey, these cards are banned. Before we start turn one, round one, you, me, and one other volunteer, we're just going to read through the deck lists and make sure that nobody has it in their deck list. And then from then on out, you can be like, hey, we're warning you. If you have this, come edit your deck list, whatever. And if this is, kind of first warning, and if you're playing with this, we're just going to kick you out of the tournament so we don't have to deal with the hassle of people being like, oh, I didn't know, or whatever else.
Well, I know just from past experience, when Bucky got errata, I did, as people turned in the deck list to me, I did go through each deck list just to see if Bucky was in any of them beforehand. So that is something I do pay attention to already. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully, no one tries to play the cards. But yeah, yeah, it's something I'm thinking about.
I'm going to say it's not going to be the person who's trying to cheat that's going to play it. It's going to be the person who's like, oh, I'm going to try a competitive event and I didn't hear about this news.
Yeah, it's gonna be the more casual people who are gonna get hurt by that. All the people who life happens and they haven't been playing the game as much.
Or the
yeah,
person
like
who wants to do the tournament with the starter deck.
yeah. So all league night, but yeah, well, probably the auto policy is gonna be, you forfeit that round, or not maybe not that round, maybe even that game, and they'll be like, hey, um, we played the card in the deck. If you can't, then you root that round, and then the next round you just gotta play with a different deck because we allow deck switching between rounds because it's a very casual event.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna make all. I think I'm looking at all my Sapphire decks, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like literally, like the last probably 10 Sapphire decks that I've made, or last 10 decks that I've made have Sapphire in them, and I would say probably 80% are running Hiram. So it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Any last thoughts before we get to the card of the week?
bring on the chaos.
Yep.
Yep, bring on. Yeah, it's either going to be chaos or it's just going to be a smooth transition. I think we're going to hear grumblings about it for the next couple of weeks, but once people get used to knowing, hey, I can't play these cards, they're going to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
until set champions, and when they lose, they're like, if I had Hiram, it would have been I could have won.
Yeah, Ravensburger hamstringed me. No, they buckied me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to our card of the week. And the card of the week this week is Gantu, the Experienced Enforcer. He is coming to us from set 7. He is a 4-drop on Inkable, 2 strength, 4 willpower. He comes from Steel, and he has 2 abilities. The first is Close All Channels. When you play this character, characters can't exert to sing songs until the start of your next turn. And the second ability is Don't Get Any Ideas. Each player pays 2 ink more to play actions or items. This doesn't apply to singing songs. And the card is drawn from Heidi Neunhoffer. Is the best I'm going to guess on that last name. So we'll start with you, Matt. Tell us about Gantu.
I like him. I think he's a good. He's very much like Pete Referee. I think he's better in some cases. Um, he he doesn't necessarily top acting, but he definitely make people like have to think about playing them a lot more. And the fact that the put 2 cost a continuum give him a bit more longevity on the board than Pete Referee. But like I drew my tail Kong deck, but I have to be very careful that I king all my Kong before I play him because that does also affect me.
Mike, what are your feelings on Gantu?
So I always look at the base stats before I look at the text, and a 4 cost for a 2/4 on Inkable is not great, but I would have liked if he was Inkable, but I think his abilities adds enough annoyance and disruption to gameplay that warrants him to not be Inkable or to have a higher cost. Yeah, I think what's fun is that you can basically just leave him upright and he's disrupting your opponent by quite a bit. You don't even have to quest with him, and if they don't have a song to remove him, it's going to be kind of like really hard or annoying. And if they do have a song, well, they were going to remove him or any other of your characters anyway. But I think I haven't played with him. I think it's fun. It would be fun to look at your opponent's faces when they're like, I was about to do this, and then you disrupted me from, playing whatever. Be prepared or
No,
something
that
like
happened to me when I was playing with them the other night at Reignite, and like it the stopped acting. Like also like it's a great way to top be prepared when you know one of them are coming. Because like,
Mhm.
oh, your character can't sing it, or like, oh, you have to wait 2 more turns.
So what deck would you throw this in? I'm assuming if you did, obviously you said Steel Song, Amber Steel Song. Would other than that deck, I'm thinking about like how could you make this card the most annoying? So you put this in, you put in Pete, uh, and
Yeah,
then
I'm running 2 Pete and 2 Gauntoots.
oh no, you run 4 and 4. You just watch people cry. Like,
Like he definitely, I would say, Bruteal's also running him. Um, honestly, I probably to throw him in Ruby Teal to top acting and to help protect my characters. Because he's a really good defensive tool, and to throw that and get your opponent off rhythm.
yeah. The only problem is if you're playing against a deck that like plays characters on curve, so they always have like a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, a 4-drop. All of those cards are probably going to be much better statted than this guy. Or so anyway, it plays well against an action heavy control-ish style deck. It probably doesn't play as well against a board based just strong character deck.
And that's what the other cards in your deck go for.
Yeah. Yeah. So
This
I
is
don't
why
know.
we play 60 cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll dabble with making a deck around this guy, but I think I only have one. Maybe I have 0 of him, so might need to do a lot of online testing first. Scott, what do you think about Gantu Experienced Enforcer?
My experience, I have not actually gone up against him in real life yet, or actually, I've never gone up against him, not even online yet. My only experience with Gantu is all the questions that arose from him of people like, how do we judge on when this card is played and what are the interactions? So with this card, Gantu is just more, he's an annoyance. Um, there's nothing on this Gantu that is going to massively screw up the opponents that it goes up against him. And there are ways around this card. They've already ruled that certain cards, and I can't think what they are off the top of my head. There are cards that get around Gantu's ability already anyway. So, like you guys said, he's an annoyance, but he's not this big, huge threat. Um, People that know of Gantu, they know how to get around him already. So, but yeah, for fun casual play, he's going to be an annoyance, and anybody that plays Gantu against me, I know he's going to be one of my first targets. So,
Yeah. We'll talk about this in a later episode when we retouch on cheating, because I think we need to do that again. But this card, unfortunately, interactions and things that say players can't do something lead to opportunities for people to cheat and people to play naive. Like, oh, I didn't know that I couldn't play a spell or a song.
That was the dumbest argument when Pete's referee. Well, you didn't announce that Pete's ability triggered, therefore it's a static ability. It happened. You should announce it as proper etiquette for gameplay, but it's not required.
It's not a May either, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, so there's that, but there's also the people who will try to get around Pete, and they just pretend like they didn't know, and hopefully, maybe it only works 1 out of 10 times, but that's 1 out of 10 times that you were able to play an action when you weren't supposed to.
Yeah,
right.
we talked about this in our previous cheating episode, but to people listening, know the rules, pay attention, and stand up. If there's any instance where you sense a disagreement, then call a judge. People, that's how the boys get you. They try to they go with self-doubt, and they try to be more confident in how they talk. So if you have any doubt, call a judge.
Yeah. So on an upcoming episode, I think there's been maybe 2 or 3 instances of cheating that have made the rounds since we had our last one. People have not invented new ways of cheating, but I think it's just become more public, and there were things that we talked about that have
the game getting more popular, and more people are paying attention to it.
Yep. So anyway, Gantu, fun card, but don't let people cheat you.
well, that's all the time we have for tonight, Illumineers. Thanks for joining us. Drop a comment let us know what you thought about tonight's episode. How do you feel about Hiram and Fortisphere being banned? Let us know what you think. And until next time, adventure awaits.